Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and in the virtual studio is, of course, the talent, Mr. Nate Newton, although he's just kind of down the hall a little bit.
Dude,
Nate, how are you, sir?
You know what's funny is that I am down the hall, but I look like I'm in a fucking prison, and there you are in the beautiful studio, all
Well,
by yourself.
I knew one of us had to make a sacrifice, and it was a sacrifice for you. I was willing to sacrifice you. I was willing to do that for myself.
Easy, Lord Farquaad.
I didn't want you to get too comfortable sitting at my desk.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so no, it's one of the spare offices down here, and for sake of our conversation today in eliminating echo, you remember when we tried to do that Facebook Live at Battleborn HQ that day, and we were 2 feet apart?
That was a disaster.
It was a disaster. Yeah. I had to prevent that. So anyway, why are we in the virtual studio, Nate?
We got a special guest in here with us today that we've been trying to get on for a while. If you figure out how to write a fucking email, but long-time follower, and I followed you for a couple years. This guy on Instagram for a couple years now, and I'm always stoked to see on the stuff that he posts, and it's real world shit, and I appreciate his outlook on a lot of stuff, and I appreciate what he does. And so Dan with Apex Works,
Apex Welding. It doesn't really matter. There's 30 other Apex Weldings in America, and we're just one of them.
Yeah,
we're not really the top. We're just
yeah, Dan, why don't you go ahead and give us a little background on yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah. I'm Daniel. I live in the woods, rural Pennsylvania. Been in the trades kind of like Josh. I'm a million years old, and I've been in the trades forever. I was raised in the trades, and when I say raised, I mean like from 11 on. I started in a little hot rod shop when I was 11 years old, sweeping up, and they taught me how to weld when one of the old boys was too drunk to come in, and they needed some brackets welded. So they got me off my stack of Playboys up in the sandblast room in the attic and said, "Hey, you want to learn how to weld?" And I said, yeah, sure. And from then on till today, I haven't been welding the whole time. That was just a brief little spot. But from there, took an older guy. He saw something in a 13-year-old little punk rock skate kid, little skate rat, something that I didn't know about myself, but he saw in me. And he asked me to come shovel snow, do commercial snow removal at 13. He owned a landscaping company. His name is Ward Vreeland, and he's probably one of the biggest top 5 father figures in my life. He asked me to come shovel for him, and he said, "Yeah, I'll come pick you up and drop you off, and then pick you up when you're done." And so one day in the dead of winter, he said, "I'll pick you up at 3:00 in the morning." I was 13. He said, "I'll pick you up at 3:00 in the morning and hand you a shovel, and you can shovel till you're done." I said, "Cool." The pay was decent for 1994 or 5. He's paying $15 an hour, man. And I was 13 or 14. And I said, "Heck yeah." And I went out. He dropped me off 3:00 in the morning, 4:00 in the morning, something like that, at a big condo association. And I shoveled snow for 27 hours straight with almost no breaks. And when we got to the end of it, the gentleman who was running the job, Gary, he said, "Hey, man, do you think you could drive these other guys home?" I said, "No, dude, I can't." And he looks at me and just shakes his head. He's, "I can't believe this guy sent me another guy with a DUI and no driver's license, whatever." I said, "Dude, I'm 14, 13 or whatever." He shook his head and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dude." And he put me in his truck and he drove me home. And we actually wound up being really good friends for a long time. But from that point on, I was hooked. I went from just a worthless pile of garbage kind of person, always looking to get out of everything, always looking to shirk responsibility, to kind of pushed, developed, hammered, forged, whatever. They beat me to death, and taught me everything I know about what it is to be a man and what it is to be a tradesperson and a business owner. I learned that before I was 19. By 18, I was running a crew, And yeah, really learned how to weld from those guys. Actually, in a landscaping company, I learned how to run equipment, learned how to do electrical, learned how to do plumbing, learned how to do framing, learned how to do masonry, learned how to do some landscaping too, small engine repair, like everything. It was all there. And yeah, so that really, in no uncertain terms, that pretty much saved my life, uh, growing up in that environment. So
Do you
yeah,
think the trades back what was this, like 90s, early 2000s?
yeah. This is late, like mid to late '90s. Like I started in like '94 ish, and then yeah,
'Cause I feel like the trades at that time in history, you
oh yeah,
really you weren't really trade specific like you are today.
mm-mm,
You
no.
had
And
to
I'm sure some
know
people
everything.
were. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think some people were like there's always specialty trades. Like even back then, electricians didn't know how to use a broom.
They still don't.
You know, they still don't, like whatever. And I have some friends who are electricians. Sorry, Randy, but you know, they didn't know. But yeah, it was different. It was different. I mean, you could be 14. I would drive. I would like ride my bicycle in the summer down to their shop that was in a storage unit. They had a storage unit when I first started, and I would ride my bike down at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd get driven out. My first summer, I got driven out to the owner's house, and he would put me in his backyard with a 5 gallon can of gas and a log splitter. And he had a mountain of offcuts from residential tree work, all the knots, all the garbage wood, and he said, "Hey, go split that firewood."
Mhm.
And I did that every day for an entire summer, like just alone with no supervision. And for the first couple of weeks, I didn't use any gas because I didn't do anything. And he would just come pick me up and just kind of shake his head. And by the end of the summer, I had a mountain of firewood, and the guys would come by, like that actually worked for him, and like the other crew, they'd come by and like help me roll over like 6 foot, 5 foot diameter, 4 foot diameter rounds onto the log splitter, get them quartered up because I couldn't even pick them up. I couldn't do anything with them. And I was a different person at the end of that summer. But I don't know, can you do that today? Like, can you have a kid ride his bike to work at 5 o'clock in the morning at 14 years old, and then come home at 7 o'clock at night
Mhm.
after laboring all day? Like, I don't know if you could do that anymore. I
What a
hope we can.
great camp that would be.
Right.
Yeah, like
You know what? I bet you would have parents lined up to send their kids off to that shit if you made it a
yeah.
camp for them to do that.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I have found, because I do work with students, and various other young people. I'm always involved with that kind of stuff. Like, they love work. They
mhm.
love working. They just have to know why.
Yeah.
I've almost never had a student in the last 20 years of working with students. Almost never had a student not work.
Mhm.
Like, we go and do trips, and we help homeless shelters, or orphanages and different places like that. And like they're like, "Hey, we need to get this whole hillside like brushed out. Like this whole hillside is a couple acres. Like, do you think your kids could do that?" And I got 10 kids, boys, girls, whatever, between 12 and 16, 17 years old. And I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "We got to get this hill cleared because they're going to cut a road in here in a month for this camp.
Mhm.
Can we do that?" They're like, "I don't know." And so we do it, and they're willing to work. A lot of people are like, this younger generation. And I agree. This younger generation is different, but I don't think it's for a lack of like wanting to work. I think it's for a lack of good leadership. I think it's for a lack of purpose. Like, they don't understand
Mhm.
that working, is what is required to find purpose. A
I
lot
think
of
it's a lack of exposure too.
Yeah, like who does anything?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You making the joke of the way that, you and I were raised, in the trades. So much of was exposure.
Mhm.
And part of that exposure was here. Figure it out. And
Yeah.
and they left you to your own death or success. I mean, that was honest to God, that was it. I remember, I mean, the first time I shoveled coal into a coal bin for my granny's stoker, furnace, I was like 10, 11 years old. I was doing it with Grandpa Chuck. We shoveled just a couple ton of coal. Wasn't like I was, feeding a steam engine or anything, but Um, and then all the way up to driving a flatbed wrecker, a car hauler at 16 years old
Mhm.
for the mechanic shop that my stepdad owned at the time. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, they taught me what the controls did, and they were like, "Here, figure it out."
Mhm.
And that was how you learned. That was how we figured shit out. I used to dismount, mount, and balance tires. Also, same shop. I got wrapped up in a tire machine one day. Um,
Sure.
but that was the thing. They look at it and go, "You all right? Are you alive? You good? Rub some dirt or grease on it."
Mhm.
So that just that exposure, right? You and I know we weren't micromanaged. I don't remember being micromanaged in a lot of the things that I did. Now I remember the result of doing it wrong, but I wasn't micromanaged in the
Pain.
process. Yeah. Yeah. The
Wrench comes flying across the shop.
oh,
Yeah.
the hazing, right?
Oh yeah.
Daniel, the
Hazing,
hazing
all
that
that
we,
stuff.
and
Mhm.
how fantastic, right?
Well,
How
It was a
fantastic is that?
beautiful thing.
yeah. And Dan, do you get to fuck with the kids a little bit too while you're out there working with them? Do you?
Oh, sure. I mean, like one of my oh, of course. So, like, do I? Yeah, yeah. I mean, the idea is like there were some things that were bad, like growing up in the way I did. Like, so I lived in New Jersey growing up. I grew up 20 minutes outside of New York City, but it was like this weird small town, like very blue collar. Every person I went to high school with, their dads were plumbers and carpenters and union boiler makers and mechanic. Like that's who we were in our little town. We were just scrappy, grimy, and you know like some of it wasn't good. Probably a lot of it wasn't good. Like the boys driving back from a job, stopping at Rose Ern's Liquor to get road sodas, every single day, like, and driving home with a six pack, and there's no more six pack when you get home. Going for
Every day.
3 hour lunches at the bar, like because you're waiting for concrete or something. Like that probably wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. Like there was just something about, for me, um, so I have an older brother, Jason, awesome guy. When he was growing up, we very chaotic growing up, and like he desperately wanted to be known for him, like as Jason, like, or not even like he didn't want to be known as himself. So he like left real or young, like moved out, got a whole new life, whole new family. He like got a whole new one. For me, growing up, I didn't want to be known as my, like, who I was. And so I figured out that first night shoveling snow that if I do what these guys say, they treat me like a person, not like your Debbie's son or your Jason's brother or your, this guy or that guy. I don't know who you are, but you did all that work. I'm down. Like, you're a good guy. Like, I found value and worth in being able to do the things. And because of that, like, I wanted to please them in the best way. I wanted to do my best everywhere I went, every job. Like, and they regularly told me, like, listen, you're going to go pick those rocks up from over on that side of the job, put them in 5 gallon buckets, and then you're going to carry them to that side of the job. And you have all day. You're going to do it in an hour. Like there's a tractor trailer load of mulch. We've got 5 of them coming. You're going to shovel that out all of them all day today by yourself. And I did it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to please those guys. And then at every step, like I would look over, and there's the owner of the company, Wayne Greeley, the brother, and Wayne and Ward. There'd be Wayne, and he'd have a shovel in his hand, and he'd be shoveling with me, and he would rib me. He'd make fun of me. He'd push me. He'd call me names. Like only nickname I ever had in my life came from those guys, and everybody else just calls me Daniel. I don't know why. They just do. Nobody calls me anything but that. Those guys, they had a nickname for me. They would make me do stupid stuff. I'd get covered in tar. Like all the stuff. But every day there was that guy, Wayne. He was standing there with a shovel. I'd be 3 triaxle loads of stone shoveling out of the bed into wheelbarrows, and I'd be 3 in, and there's one more, and he'd hop up in the bed with me. and he, hey, try it this way. It hurt your back less. If I'm jackhammering, he would grab the jackhammer. And I remember he told me one time, he said, it's like your back hurt. I said, yeah, my back hurts. He goes, you know what the cure for that is? No. He's like, get back on the jackhammer and keep going. Oh, and I did. And you know what? Your back quits hurting. And maybe not today, but next year it doesn't hurt. Maybe
until 40 years down the road.
Yeah. Right. But that's the deal. So like when I work with students and whatever, like of course, yeah, there's that ribbing, but it doesn't come from a place of I'm up here, it comes from I'm here in the trench with you. Like I am actually splitting this firewood. I am actually picking these weeds. I am actually painting this deck. Like we're not doing something else. And so,
yeah. I mean, because I think that there's been a gap generationally, and I think that Gen Z is starting to pick it back up again. But I think kind of what you're starting to describe is you were looking for the respect of your peers. You were looking for the respect of the people around you. And I think we lost it for one generation. And I think that Gen Z itself is actually picking back up on that they want they want the respect and they want to earn the respect. And the methods and the methodology looks a little bit different these days, but it's still the same concept, right?
Yeah, because people are the same. Like we haven't actually fundamentally changed human beings. Our greatest hope, our greatest desire, our greatest need is to be known by other people and to know other people well and deeply. Like that's what we're all trying to get to. And that's why, and especially guys, like that's why young men go and fight wars, even though they know the wars are dumb and unjust and probably stupid, but that's still what they're doing. They're trying to find their people. They're trying to find the respect of others. One thing that I'll say about Gen Z, like I don't even care. I have no idea what generations are. Younger guys, they do the things that the older guys said they wanted to do. So like nobody liked getting yelled at by their boss for stupid stuff. Nobody liked getting middle managed or micromanaged. Everybody said, this is dumb, I'm going to quit. Except they didn't. They worked there for 30 years and hated their life, got a heart attack, drank an 18 pack of beer a day to numb the pain. These young guys, these 27, 25-year-old guys, they're like, listen, I need 4 days off in a month to go to a wedding or something. Whatever, who cares? I need 4 days off. I need a day off. No, I can't do it, bud. Well, you can do it. No, I can't. Okay, I quit. And they leave. They literally leave. They walk away. That's actually kind of awesome. Like, now it sucks when you're the guy, like when you treat someone properly and correctly and they do that to you. But realistically, like all the old guys that trained me, they would say that stuff, but they would never do it. They would just work their dead end job and hate their life forever.
But hold on. I also think that if you are treating people properly and correctly, you're giving them the time and the respect to go live their lives, right? I mean, we've never turned anybody down for requested time off, and it's like, just give us some fucking notice.
Right.
Give us notice and whatever. We'll give you the time off. We don't care.
It's a communication thing for sure. Like, I have non-negotiables. Like if you no call, no show, you're fired. I literally don't care. Like now, if you don't show up when we leave and you call me we leave at say 6, you call me at 6:30 and you're like, I'm in my Honda Civic. I'm doing 90 miles an hour down the highway. I'll be there in an hour and a half. Cool, man. No problem, bud. Like we're good. You call me at noon and you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't think I should come in. Well, you're fired. Don't ever come back.
Yeah, you're right.
But we set that we set that standard well beforehand, though. We don't just like spring that on somebody. Like, oh, and by the way, like, we got to communicate all that stuff. But yeah, that's where I mean, in a roundabout way, that's kind of how I grew up. Is just doing general labor, getting exposed to all these trades, and it was a blast. I had a ton of fun, and I realized that it wasn't finding a purpose and then doing that thing. It was doing the things, and you bring value or you establish value and purpose to what you're doing. So like you can find an incredible amount of value in shoveling stone well or spreading mulch well. No, it's dumb. Or picking weeds. Yeah, no, picking weeds is important. That's what I learned. Like all the little things. I learned there is no such thing as a little job. There's no such thing as a menial task. We assign menial to a task, but they're not menial. Like, if that guy doesn't grind the proper area of this post, the weld that I have to perform later sucks, or I have to grind it. So now two people touch the material, which it costs money every time someone touches the material. So the grinding was actually the important part. The welding, that's like 20% of what we do. It's dumb. Like, it's easy and dumb.
It's all. I
Like,
mean,
it's
yeah, it's all
not
in the
hard.
prep work. Yeah, the prep work is
Yeah,
where it's
like,
at. You know.
yeah, and nobody wants to do the menial task because we tell them, "Oh, you're just a helper. Oh, you're just a grinder. Oh, you're just a greaser." Like, how many union operators do you know that won't grease their equipment? They got to have an oiler. Like, dude, the oiler's actually probably the most important guy on this job site. Like, cool, you can load a haul truck. Awesome. You won't grease it.
Mhm.
So the oiler is the most important guy now, because if he quits his job, you're not going to do it. That machine's going to break.
Mhm.
Grease is cheap. Getting something line board, it's $300 an hour, bud. You know, like,
Yeah.
no.
Daniel, when you were coming up in the trades, what were some of the qualities that you started to admire in the leaders that you had? What was it that stood
Oh,
out to you or connected with you?
oh man. Whew, that's a great question. I can just see all these old guys. Like, I have like a Mount Rushmore in my head, of all these guys that I mean, for lack of a better word, I just loved them. Like,
Mhm.
I was, we were a family for a long time, and these guys were my, they were my family in no uncertain terms. I spent more time with them than anyone else. And the things that I looked up to in those guys, number one was grit, like 100%. Like, I didn't know that word growing up. I just knew that these were some bad dudes, like hardcore dudes that were up early, worked their guts out all day, went to bed late. Like, they were always ready. They never quit. Like, I have my shirt right now for my current company. That's what I write on all my shirts is, we're always ready. We never quit. And those guys were that to me, back in the day. Like, the grit to do it, the willingness to to lend a hand, no matter what. Like, what the one owner of the company, Ward, he was the office guy. He did the estimates, he sales, did all the quotes. At the end of the day, if it was July 4th and we were prepping a house for some huge lawyer's 4th of July barbecue, and it was pouring down, whatever, he'd be out there with a shovel in his hand, a wheelbarrow, whatever it took to make sure that client was satisfied. And then, yeah, so grit, the willingness to do whatever it took. Those were the characteristics that really, I think, stood out to me the most growing up, for sure.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
because that was one main thing that I wanted to talk to you about today too was grit. Because I see a
my
lot of it
favorite
through your
thing.
work. I see a lot of it through your social media stuff, but I see a lot of it in your attitude too. And
Yeah.
I I guess I'll launch it with this question: how do you see this young like this? Because we've already talked about the younger generation a little bit. Do you see the labor providing the same kind of grit that you did when you were coming up?
Generally speaking, no. I think grit and the stick to itiveness, the willingness to go and not quit. Um, I think that has been eroded, not destroyed, but eroded because of instant gratification. I'm not going to blame phones. I'm going to blame parents. Like, you know why the younger generation sucks? Because you do. Because I do. Like, we suck. We got everything handed to us. We were raised in comfort, generally speaking, more than any other generation before us. And our parents were like, "It's okay, little buddy." I mean, not mine. My parents were like, "Get out, like, shut up," that kind of thing. But and yeah, so it's been eroded. Like, the cool thing though, because I do everything that I can to not be negative. I think it's just like a losing battle if you're just like, those dang kids, because that's all I ever heard growing up from older people is those dang kids. Their music sucks and they suck and all they want to do is skateboard and what, like, it's always the same. Every generation after you sucks. You know, ask the guys in the Great Depression. They're like, these dang baby boomers, all they want to do is smoke dubs and be bankers. Like, whatever, you know. And so anyway, yeah, I think it's been eroded. I think grit is not something that I don't think anybody I don't want to say that. Grit is a skill more than it's a talent.
So how do you teach grit?
You take a kid, you put him in front of a wood splitter, you hand him 5 gallons of gas, and you say, I want all of that done. And then you walk away. That's how you teach it. Like, there's no shortcut. There's no, and I don't mean every kid has to split wood, whatever. I don't care. People have to do the hard thing, be held to a standard, period. And, you know, you can learn grit by being the fry guy at Sheets or Bucky's or whatever. Like, you don't think it's hard work running the grill at Bucky's or Sheets or Wawa or whatever, you know, random place. Like, be a cook. Like, go work in a kitchen and wash dishes. You're going to learn. You are going to learn.
I think it doesn't only have to be just difficult. I think it's got to be a little dangerous. You know,
like, I think it has to be dangerous and long.
Yeah,
like
long.
time.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I agree with that.
You know, as leaders, like each of us, probably most of the people listening to this podcast are either in management in a business, or, you know, they're owning their own business, or they own a job. But, you know, like, for each one of us, we have the opportunity to model that for people, you know, to show what that means. You know, the worst thing that I see on a regular basis is the boss of some asphalt plant comes in and is like, you guys got to get off your phone. And then he gets in his truck and he's on his phone. Then he's like, you guys got to be here on time. And then every day he's 10 minutes late. Like, we actually have to be what we're calling other people to be. So if we want to see young guys come up in the trades and develop grit, we actually have to be gritty. And we can't just talk about the time when I used to work on a rig and I worked 38 hours straight. We actually have to do it now. We can't live on yesterday's accomplishments, you know?
I agree with you, Daniel. And I think kind of one of the things that I want to clarify is, when you are in a leadership role or an ownership position, it's not about being gritty in doing their job. It's about being gritty in you doing your job, and you fulfilling the role with excellence and being gritty. So it does model the behavior so they can apply that to their job. And I think a lot of the reason I want to clarify that is, I think people can misinterpret that and they go, well, I've done their job. I served my time. I paid my dues. Okay. It wouldn't even be beneficial for the company if you were gritty in their position. That's
right.
Your operational value is 100x what you're paying them. Like, you don't need to be doing that job, you know?
Correct.
But it is showing that behavior and modeling that behavior in the thing that you're responsible for and in the role that you play.
Yeah. For the boss or the management guy, like if you're a shop supervisor or whatever, don't be doing time cards 20 minutes before they're due for the boys. Get them done when they're supposed to get done. Like, show up before they show up and sweep. And then if you say in your shop, we got to get 25 of these out, and the boys get 23, well, you go finish the last 3 or 2 or whatever. Like, or get out there and say, how can I help you? What do you need to accomplish this task? Do you need dinner? I'll go get dinner for you guys. Do you need more grinding stones? Do you need more tools? Did you break a shovel? Like, what did you do? Not I'm blaming you. What did you do? But what can I do as a leader to make this possible? Like, I'll stay as late as necessary if you guys will put in the time and energy to get this done. Like, you actually have to do your job well in order to model these things for the people that you work with. And even that, like, they're the people you work with. They don't necessarily work for you. You know what I mean? Like, they're more working for the guys that are in the shop with them. You know, they're more working for those guys. Like, you're working with them. You're leading them in that way. And, you have to. So I, not to get like soundbite-ish, but there's something I think about this basically all day, every day. This is pretty much all I think about half the time. And so the idea here is, as leaders, we need to set a standard. Okay, that's easy. We're going to get 20 a day or whatever. It's going to be excellence is our standard. Whatever. You need to set a standard. Then you need to hold the people that you are with to a standard. Like when they fail, say you failed. This is our standard. How can we get there? Then you have to be the standard. You actually have, like, when you say be here on time, you're there 5 minutes before everybody else. You don't show up 15 minutes after everybody else. When you say wear a uniform and make it clean, like I worked I worked on a rig. It was, I think, an H&P rig. And it's real impressive because they had a rule that everybody needed to be clean shaven. This is a drill rig. Everybody needed to be clean shaven and clean clothes. No holes, no stains, no rips, no tears. So the company man came in with no rips, no stains, no tears. The driller, guess what? No rips, no stains, no tears. The tool pusher, no rips, no stains, no tears. And if there were, the company said, no problem. Throw it out, get a new pair of pants. Throw it out, get a new new shirt. They set the standard. Everyone was held to that standard. If you don't have a clean shirt, go get one. And then the people in charge were the standard. When you looked over, the cleanest cut guy, fireman mustache on the driller, was the boss. And he had the cleanest clothes. Like, he was what they were calling everybody to. If you follow that just on a basic level, people want to be around that. They want to be held to the standard. They want to do their best.
So let me ask you this question. How do you set that standard for people without imposing it on them?
That's a great, man, you're asking me the tough ones. I don't want to answer. No.
This is my second day. It's my second day.
Yeah. You're good. You're good at this. You're good at this. Oh man, you talk to a lot of people. How do you set that standard without imposing it? Honestly, I think there is a bit of imposition that needs to happen. Like, if you're gonna join the Marine Corps, cool. You don't like cutting your hair. Tough luck. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is our culture. We make excellent human being. Not that every Marine's an excellent human being, but you get the idea. Like,
excellent killing machines.
We're good. Yeah, right. Yeah. It is an imposition. It is an inconvenience. I had a job a long time ago. My company was failing badly, and I took a job at a company doing demolition for fire and water damage, insurance claims, just demo, constructive, water damage, whatever. And the guy who owned the company was like, everybody here shaves. And if you notice, I have a beard. I've had a beard since I was 15. Like, literally, I have had a beard my whole life as an adult. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. He's like, well, cool. Then you're not going to work here. And he set that standard. And you look over and guess what? He didn't have a beard. He was clean shaven every single day. And we had a compromise. We had a conversation. I had a relationship with the guy. I said, listen, I will shave, but I don't like it. And I'm not going to be happy. He's like, okay, well then you need to be clean cut. You need to be trimmed up. And so sure enough, we came and met in the middle. He imposed his will on me and we had a conversation and we came to an agreement. He just wanted people, when these grimy doofuses, me, came to their house, they were wearing the same shirt, they were wearing the same pants, and they were clean cut and they weren't scary. That's what he was hoping the customer experience would be. So he explains all that to us, to me specifically. He communicates the importance of it. He communicates why he does it, why that's a standard that he sets. Then I communicate to him, like, I can do all that. I'll just shave every day, just trim my beard. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, cool. And so he changed his policy a tiny bit. I changed my attitude a whole lot. And we were able to have a great working relationship moving forward. So I think that's one of the ways as business owners or leaders, we can set standards and hold people to standards, and they follow them willingly. It becomes like, oh yeah, I had a part in this. I want to be a part of this culture. And standards are there to repel people who ought not to be in that situation. And they're there to attract the people who should be in those situations or in that organization.
You're right, and I love what you're saying because I agree with you. The imposition balance is a balance, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it is an imposition. But the reason it's not an imposition is if you have clarity in the expectation and the standard from the beginning, I'm giving you the opportunity of acceptance. And if you're accepting the standard, if you're accepting the culture, if you're accepting the expectation, I'm no
Mhm.
longer imposing that on you. I'm going to hold you to it,
Mm.
right? I'm going to hold you to the standard. But I think it becomes an imposition when it's not communicated clearly and you're expecting a specific result.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I I
The
I really like the idea of
yeah,
what you said about it repels people and attracts the right people. I
yeah.
really like that.
Yeah, when we're hiring, like as people who hire for positions, man, that's the first line of defense for bad hires is write your job description honestly and in a way that it attracts the people you want to work with.
Nate, write this down.
Simple.
Shut up.
Yeah, like sorry, like people are like, oh, nobody does this, nobody wants this, nobody wants, buddy. If you want people to show up and work their guts out and then go home and enjoy their life, you need to attract the people that sounds like a good time to. So you have to tell people up front, this job is hard. This job is dirty. We have a ton of fun, but it kind of sucks. Do
Mhm.
you want a job or not? Like,
Yep.
I know that sounds funny, but that's what we have to do
Well,
to attract
that
the kind of people that you want to work with.
yeah, and I think that's somewhere that we fuck up as people that hire. Also, is that we try to sugarcoat what the job is, and we forget to tell people that it sucks sometimes. And people come in
Mhm.
here and they expect it sucks a lot of the time, right?
Mhm.
People
Yeah.
come in here and they expect a whole different job than what it is, right? And I think being upfront and honest and setting that expectation, like you guys are talking about, that shit's gonna fucking suck, but we're gonna smile and laugh our way through it. That's a whole other conversation, you know.
Yeah, that's Mike Rowe. Love that guy. He has been said a bunch of times like one of the secrets about his show Dirty Jobs. If you watch, everybody's always smiling. They're having a blast
Mhm.
sitting inside of a septic tank eating a sandwich. Like
Yep.
it's like what? And think about it. Every job that you've ever had, every job site you've ever been on, the worst ones are the best ones.
Those are the
I
ones you
mean,
remember
when
for
like
sure.
those are the ones you remember. Those are the ones that it's like, and the guys that like were together in that time, like those were the ones that you're like, man, old Chucky, he was all right. Like we got through that. We got through 28 hours straight. We got through, that blizzard. We got through that job. Like those are the way we actually kind of develop relationships. And it's we're all drawing from the same pool of people. Um, and for better or for worse, we've had we've had since the 60s of our culture, our education system, and our government telling the world that the trades are for no one of value. Like if you're smart, do something else. If you're strong, do something else. If like just do anything but the trades. And if you are a worthless pile of garbage, you like drugs, you're trouble in school, go to Votech. If you're trouble, become a carpenter. If you're trouble, become a welder. Like if you like strippers and cocaine, pipeling's a perfect job for you. Like, drywall is for meth heads. Like we
That's
say
right.
that and we laugh about it,
I
but we're
know.
living in the consequences of that.
I know it.
Well,
And
but you
moving
also
forward,
no, but
oh
also
no, no,
like those stigmatisms. I think a lot of people get driven into those lifestyles because they
heck
think in
yeah,
order to be the pipeliner,
heck yeah,
you have to love cocaine and strippers, and
yeah, dude,
it,
for
it's
sure.
like it's almost like you get drawn into these shit fucking
Mhm,
habits because
mhm,
the sociological idea of what those positions are becomes your new identity. And
mhm.
if you don't do all the dumb shit, well, you're not a real fucking pipeliner then, right?
Exactly. And we've like, so it's so crazy because it's like this cycle that's like self-reinforcing. You get a kid who is awkward, doesn't have a lot of friends, is bad at school, who just has energy, right? Is like, I don't like sitting around for 8 hours a day. So I cause trouble from the time I'm in second grade till today. And you get him and he's bad at taking tests. Maybe he's dyslexic, whatever. And his school tells him, you're dumb and your trouble, so go to Votech. Then he looks out and he sees a dude roll in with a brand new F-350 that says oil field trash across the dashboard or across the windshield. And he's like, oil field trash. I'm trash. I could be oil field trash. I could make oil field money. And then it's, what does oil field trash eat? Oh, we eat hot dogs and energy drinks and meth. Cool. And it just reinforces like, I am oil field trash. And then you get that chip on your shoulder of like, I'm oil field trash. I'm a rod buster. I'm a, whatever trade you're in. Like, we're tough. No one else does this. And in order to do this, you have to blah, 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 like you said. And then it just goes in a cycle, and it's a downward cycle. And there just aren't a lot of guys who are like standing in opposition to that. We are generally feeding into that. We're feeding into that system, telling these young guys like, yeah. And it doesn't always have to be like drugs or drinking or whatever. It could be like, you're a mechanic. You're supposed to have $18,000 of debt on the tool truck. No, you're not. You're never going to do any better than you are today if you owe the tool man more than you owe your truck.
I've never seen a Snap-on set do more than a Craftsman set, It all does the same shit.
And, hey, man, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not going to say, because I'm the first guy to say like, hey, you have to have professional tools if you want to be professional. But at the same time, like, I'm not against buying a used Hypertherm plasma cutter because I don't want to spend $8,000 on a brand new Hypertherm plasma cutter. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't buy new trucks. I know lots of people do, and that's awesome. But like, I don't own a work truck that's newer than 2007. Mm-hmm. Every one of them is paid for. They make me money all day. But like, we don't tell the guys that. We don't tell these young guys. And then you have trade schools, which, I mean, I guess we need trade schools, right? Unfortunately, they mostly tell kids that they're going to make a pile of money and then teach them how to do one tiny portion of the job and don't teach them how to actually work. And so we get these kids coming out of these trade schools that are like, diesel mechanics that think they're going to make $80,000 a year working for John Deere. And it's like, that's not how this works. Like, you're going to make $18 an hour.
Yep.
Yeah. You can't afford the tool truck.
Yeah. Well, and they don't. The problem is that, they hear the numbers of the people that do make the certain money in certain places and certain trades, but they don't tell them about the 5 years of shit you have to eat. No matter what fucking school you went to, no matter, who trained you, you have to put those 5 years in. And so they're very discouraged when they come out of these trade schools of like,
I was told
I could make, $120,000 a year. And it's like, well, you will, but
yeah, you got to be a helper first. That's just the process. I think trade schools are as broken as colleges. Unfortunately, like, I hate to say that because I want people to be in the trades, and apprenticeships are great, but they're so often, for better or for worse, linked with unions. That what about people who don't want to be in a union or started their career being a drywaller and now they're 33 and they're like, dude, I want to be a carpenter, but I don't want to join the union. I have had whatever experiences, good or bad. I just don't want to do it. So like, the system, unfortunately, and I hate to be a complainer, because if you don't have a solution, you keep talking about a problem, you're just complaining. Like, but the system that we have currently is broke. It's not producing what we need. It's not preparing the people who need to be doing these jobs to do them. It's not helping people stay in the trades long term. It's as broken as colleges. I know lots of kids who are going to these trade schools, and when they come out, they do the trade for 1 or 2 years and they quit. They go do something else. Just like, it's something like 60% of people, 70% of people who get a college degree never use it. They don't do the thing they got their degree in. They're like, I got a sociology degree. I work at a bank. You know, the trades have taken the model of college and applied it to what we do. And then they've destroyed the model of apprenticeship, which actually works. Like being side by side with somebody who knows what they're doing, showing you how to do it, and then allowing you to do it on your own, and then continually teaching you as you get more advanced and whatever. So it's tough, and the real scary part is right now the war is not for technology. Like no company is going to win because they have better technology. Like Nate, if we were competing for a job, you and me, and I have welders on my truck and they're all blue, and you have welders on your truck and they're all red, are we going to win the job and get the job and succeed because what color our welders are?
Yep.
No. The war is going to be for talent. The war is going to be for these good people. The winners and losers are going to, in the future and currently, the companies that win consistently are going to win talent. They're going to have people in place that are driven. They're going to train them. They're going to treat them well, and they're going to develop them into successful human beings. That's how they're going to succeed. That is going to be the differentiator. 30 years ago, it was like, well, do you have a laser in your shop or a plasma table? Yeah, well, then you're going to get the business. Now, who cares?
Right.
I could have Laser Brothers or send cut me whatever I want, deliver it in 2 days. It's technology.
And they'll do it. They'll do it cheaper than you could do it anyway, because that's what they're
exactly
marketing, right?
Shit.
Yeah.
And I have a plasma table. You got a plasma table. You got a everybody's got a plasma table. Everybody's got cordless tools. Everybody's got all the technology. What we're seriously lacking is character and talent and people who care. And the companies who can attract and retain those people are going to win.
Which is leadership.
Well into the future.
Shocking.
Still.
He said the word.
Oh, God. I got spilled the beans.
Yeah.
I spilled the beans.
Yeah, man. There's no secret. There's no secret.
No, the secret's out. Hey,
Damn,
Daniel, coming up through the trades, spending your life in blue collar, was there a time where you hated being in the trades or hated the blue collar world?
Yeah. No, I mean, I have had if we want to get into it, like I started landscaping, equipment operating. I got an introduction and exposure to all the different trades, basically every trade. I'm not an expert in any of them. You know what I mean? I just saw everything, was shown it. And over the years, I became a welder. I bought my first company. I did not start a company because I wanted to be my own boss. I didn't start a company because I was mad at something. I was 25 years old or so. No, I was just 2007 when I started. So I was 26. An older guy that I knew said, "Hey, man, I'm sick." He was dying of cancer, and he's like, "I like you, Daniel. I want you to work for me and take this thing over." And I said, "Yeah, that's cool. I'll do it." And it happened to be a manufacturing company, and I took it over. I bought him out. He then trained me for a while, and I took over his company, and it promptly it didn't fail, but it did. I took over a timber industry company. We manufactured dry kilns and fixed, modified, and built sawmills. I took that over in 2008. I don't know if you guys know what happened in 2008, but the housing market crashed. And you know what they build houses out of? Wood. So like the largest producers of softwood and hardwood in my area, where I live in Pennsylvania, is the number one producer of hardwoods in the country. It goes number one, number two, number one, number two. And in our state, the number one producing counties are the county I live in. So we're like timber business everywhere. Well, the largest businesses in our county in 2008, 2009, they all went bankrupt, and they were my bread and butter. And so a lot of bad things happened, and I was flat broke. I had 6 guys working for me, 7 guys, 6 guys. I laid off my best friend. He had 2 kids at home, a wife, a house, and I laid him off. And he came in on Monday to help me finish the rest of the work for 3 months.
Shit.
Yeah, it was bad. I sold my truck to pay my mortgage. I wanted to die. Um, Literally, I want like what I everything I am, like my value is wrapped up in what I produce, how I provide, and I couldn't, and I wanted to die. I was done, but like, what am I going to do? I'm swimming in the ocean. What do I quit? I'll drown. I can't quit, and so I stuck it out. In 2008, I started that company, and I never stopped. I just kept going, and I got into oil field work. I got into manufacturing. I did anything. If there was work, I did it. I didn't care what it was or what. And for probably 2 years, 3 years of that, I couldn't finish a quote.
Mm.
I couldn't bring myself to finish and send a quote because it hurt too bad. Like, what if I get it? What if I get the quote? Then I have to do it. How am I going to do it? And all the work that I did in that time was by accident. It all came to me just because of previous relationships, because people desperately needed it. Loggers, I mean, just because they're not selling wood doesn't mean they're not going to cut any trees down. You know, they're still going to go to work every day, just like everyone else. And so I was just going from like random uh, event to random event. I was working for other companies, subcontracting, becoming an employee, going back to working for myself. And I did that for a long time, a lot of years. Finally wound up finding my place in the oil field as a rig welder, traveling around. I worked for a bunch of different companies, subcontracted, employed, whatever. Just bounced around the oil field for probably 6, 7 years. And at the end of that, it was 2019, end of 20, it was December 2019. I was standing in a field, um, up to my ankles in mud, staring at a bunch of beams, steel beams that were cut wrong. They sent me revision like 8 for the plan, and I had all the beams cut at the shop, like at the steel yard, delivered to the job site. The general contractor shows up and he goes, "Those don't look right." I'm like, "Well, they're to the plan." He's like, "What number plan do you have?" I said, 8, 12, whatever it was. He's like, "Oh, we're on 26." The building got bigger.
Hmm.
The building was 6 feet bigger. My beams were all cut. And he's like, "Okay, cool. You'll take care of it." I said, "Yeah, I'll take care of it." And he got in his truck. And he drove home. It was like December 22nd. My kids were at home. They weren't having Christmas. I'm standing in this field up to my ankles in mud. And I said, "You know what? I don't know if I can do this anymore. I just don't know. I really don't know." And that was probably one of the lowest points for me, oddly enough. Like, I was relatively successful. I had a truck, I had a house, I just got done building a brand new house. Like, but I'm standing in this field, like, what am I going to be in 10 years? In 10 years, I'm going to be standing in the same field with some other dumb general contractor who made his own mistakes, and he's going to go home and eat a steak. I'm going to stand out here in the snow on Christmas Eve cutting beams and making it right, and everything's going to work out, and they're going to make the money, and I'm going to suffer. And you know who else is going to suffer? My kids and my family. And I realized at that point, like, the only people I ever said no to were the people I cared about most, my wife and my kids. They're the only ones who ever heard me say no. Everybody else in my life heard me say yes. And I was like, I'm done. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to quit. And that was 2019. I got a job as a shop supervisor for a huge construction company. Had like 8, 10, 12, something like that, mechanics, 4 welders working for me as a shop supervisor. And then COVID hit. COVID hit, and it was weird. I mean, it was kind of interesting that I got that job and when I got it, and then worked my way through COVID with them. And after I became like a pencil pusher, I was like, I hate this more than I hate being in the field up to my ankles in mud. And so, dead in the middle, it was August of 2020. I put in my 2 weeks notice. I said, I quit. And I went out and bought a brand new excavator, brand new trailer, and another truck. Because I had sold my welding truck. I'd sold all my stuff. I'm like, I'm done. And I always liked excavating. So I just bought an excavator. I just went to the Kubota dealer and bought a brand new excavator. And like I said, trailer, bought a used truck. and put my shingle out. And I knew a bunch of masons and a bunch of landscapers that were like, we can't ever find anybody to do our dig outs. Do you know anybody? And I just started saying, yeah, I know a guy, me, pay me, and I'll go do it. And I did. I did that for about a year. And at the end of that year, I'm like, I'm in the same stinking spot. Like, I'm the same guy. I can't make any more money. Money doesn't matter. I'm still saying no to my kids. I'm just not working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I'm just working myself to the bone for nothing. And that was, that was that fall. And I said, I'm like going to quit. Like, I'm not going to be in the trades anymore. And I started down the path to being a catastrophic loss adjuster for insurance companies. So like after a hurricane, you go down and you adjust everybody. You give people their quotes for getting their roofs fixed and stuff. And that's what I was going to do, because it was close enough to the trades that I knew what I was doing, but far enough away that I wasn't going to kill myself and die or leave. And when I came home, my family wouldn't be there. So I started down that road, and I kind of had this like sneaking feeling like this isn't the right thing to do, but I'm going to just do it because I don't know what else to do. And I got a phone call around December of 2021. Yeah, it's about 2021 December. And a guy that I didn't know who worked for that huge construction company, he said, "Hey, are you still welding?" I said, "Yeah, no." He's like, "Well, we have a bunch of work. It's winter work. Would you want to do it?" And I don't know, man. And I went away. I said, I'll talk to you later. I hung up the phone. I talked to my wife. I said, what are our like requirements? Like, what do we want? And we laid out like kind of what I wanted, like money wise, time wise, whatever. And I said, okay, let's give this guy. I called him back, and he's like, listen, the previous specialty contractor we had, we've kept busy for the last 15 years. You come highly recommended by everyone we've talked to. That guy's getting ready to retire. Do you want to just take over where he's going to be retiring in the next 4 or 5 years? Do you want to just come under him, work, learn our system, learn what we do, and just take over where everything he doesn't want to do, and then we'll transition him out and you in. Here's my requirements, buddy. I was very upfront. Like, this is when I need to get paid, how much I need to get paid, all that stuff. And he said, yeah, dude, we're good. Let's do it. So I started in on that. I went all in. I said, I'm 100% in. And Josh will remember this. That's when I got a business coach. I had a couple meetings with him. He helped me kind of set up like the foundation correctly, because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't want to do it wrong again. I'd done it wrong a bunch of times and I was tired of doing it wrong. And so he helped me get it set up correctly. I did what he said to do. And that first year, like, I went all in. I was like, this is what I'm doing. It takes a while to get paid by huge, heavy construction companies. And I remember the first week in January, I took the last 200 and some dollars out of my personal account, put it into my bank account for my business. And I had, I believe, 2 cents in my bank account to get me till I had probably $60,000 in accounts receivable, but I had 2 cents, 5 cents, something like that in my bank. I took a screenshot. I post it on Instagram every once in a while when people think I'm just some oppressive white guy who hates the working class and does everything he can to keep people down. But yeah, I went all in on that opportunity and set my standards, set the rules of engagement with this company and other companies to follow. And so I did that, and it worked out. Like, weird. It was strange. Like, I stopped doing things by accident and started doing things on purpose. I started a plan, and Josh told me this one day, and it stuck with me ever since. He said, up until now, you've got all this by accident. Imagine for a second if you had a plan. Wow, dude, I literally never thought that was a thing. And so I worked that plan, got to a point in 2022 where I couldn't, and I don't take this the wrong way, like I made $1 million. I personally didn't have the strength internally to grow on my own. I couldn't push this rock up a hill any faster, further, or harder. all I could do is what I could do. And I knew I could not lift this by myself. And I'm like, is that okay? Is it okay to make this amount of money, to be this guy by myself or not? And I had a longtime friend, guy who's worked for me in the past. I've worked for him in the past. We worked at the same dead end shop together for a while. Like we've been through it. And he had hit a wall in his business, doing the same thing I was doing. And I said, "You wanna? I got this work. Like it's coming up. Do you want to start into it?" We said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "Yeah, yeah. Let's try it out." And when we looked at what we were doing, it's like there's no reason we shouldn't be partners. We like if we're gonna do this, build something that matters. We got to do it. We got to do it right, and we got to do it together. And I'm sure people have watched Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and like a draft horse can pull 8,000 pounds by itself, but together they can pull like 32,000 pounds. You can do more together than by yourself. And it's not addition, it's multiplication. And sure enough, everywhere that I'm lacking, the things that I'm not good at, my partner Jason is excellent, like far beyond what I could have imagined, and vice versa. Like the things that I'm good at, he's really, really bad at. And we're able to do 4 times what each of us individually could do. And so, yeah, that's where we're at now is we do like we're a specialty contractor for quarries, asphalt plants, concrete plants. Um, uh, we do, we take care of everything at a plant, for the aggregate concrete and asphalt industry. One call, it's done. Like no prisoners. We do everything and anything. We don't just weld, we do everything. And like no complaints, better than everybody. Like I hate to be a jerk, but like we're better than everybody else. Other people in this industry, other than maybe like Sam at Sam Welds, he's another Pennsylvania boy. He's a stud, and he's probably better at this than we are. But he gets a lot of work, and we just do that. We focus on this one thing.
Mhm.
We focused on the 20% of our business that we actually like doing, that doesn't want to kill us, and we don't want to kill. And we just said no to everything else. And so the truth is, I work far less, I make far more money, and I am far more happy than I've ever been in my life.
Mhm.
Um, it's it's like it's like wizardry. Like I don't know what Josh does, but it was like I was a caveman Neanderthal beforehand, just bashing my head against a rock and hoping it turned into like a fire or corn or something delicious to eat. I'm just like eating dirt beforehand. And then somebody from outside says, "Hey man, there's a light switch over here. You don't have to do this by yourself. You're not alone. You don't have to die." Like,
Mhm.
and you can actually, it just doesn't have to suck. And so, that's where we're at now. It's
Josh
just
is
been
like he's like a professional pull your head out of your ass guy,
yeah. And so many contractors, so many business people, we're just so stuck. And like, I think part of it is we are born problem solvers, and we've solved every problem we've ever come up against. There's not ever been a problem I haven't been able to solve on my own. And so when I come up against something, I'm like, well, if I don't know the answer, how can I even ask for help? If I have to be able to solve this, like, what, I can't learn how to do my books and pay my own taxes? What kind of loser am I? When the truth is like, I suck at that stuff. I can barely, I can barely take a picture of a receipt and send it to my accountant.
Mhm.
Like, barely. It's like, that's asking a lot. I mean, I'm like, oh, I just got fuel in my truck again, and I threw the receipt in the trash.
Mhm.
Dang it, I forgot to take a picture. Like, I'm an idiot. I'm a Neanderthal. But a lot of us are in the same boat. We're so used to solving problems, and we're so used to being alone, that we don't think we can do anything else. And I think a lot of us don't think we're worth anything either. Like, this is what we deserve. We deserve to struggle our whole life. We deserve to barely make it. We deserve to drink ourselves to oblivion. We deserve to have bad backs. Just why? Because,
Mhm.
well, we're oil field trash. That's why.
Mhm.
Heavy on the trash.
Yeah.
It's not true. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's not true.
Yeah.
you kind of beat me to my next question, and that was, um, when did you realize that changing that internal narrative and recognizing your self worth was a key to you becoming happier and more successful?
Yeah. Yeah. Right then. And like, it took me a long time. And I mean, again, it took me 40 years to
Mhm.
get this messed up,
Right.
to be this broken. Um, and it's going to take me maybe less time. I hope it doesn't take me another 40, but it does take some time to get out from under that. And like, it's so cool having a partner. We were at our accountant when we were first setting up our business, and my accountant, she's amazing. Like, and again, that's like, you can have a relationship with your accountant
Mhm.
just like you have with a customer. You can develop a client relationship where you're the client and you're developing it with a service provider. They know what you want and know where you want to get, and they help you get there, even if it's not in their financial interest. And if that isn't the kind of relationship you have with the people who help you with your business, like your accountant, your bookkeeper, whatever, get a different one. You don't have to use the same bad accountant.
Mhm.
Weird. So anyway, my partner and I are sitting in our accountant's office, and she's like explaining her menu of services or whatever. And she's like, well, I can do anything from like your taxes at the end of the year to I do literally everything for your business. You sign this paper, give me a stamp, and I write all your checks and pay all your bills and everything. Don't even talk to me. Just I'll send you a report every month or every week or every year if you want, whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we'll try with the bookkeeping. And my partner's like, shut up. We're doing everything. Like, stop being an idiot. We both suck at this. We're doing the whole full package. We can't afford it yet, but that's okay. Like, we'll grow into it. And again, she knows where we want to get. We're partners in this. And she's like, you guys are a baby right now. I'm not going to like beat you up today.
Mhm.
Like, I'm going to give you the best service I can for $200 a month. And when you guys are making more money, and I know you will because I'm going to help you, I'll charge you more and I'll do more for you. Cool. And so that's where we're at now. I don't do my taxes. I don't do quarterlies. I don't do payroll. I don't do anything. I send her receipts. And if I don't, she just goes in my bank account and gets them and does my bookkeeping for me. Cool. And I pay her.
Mhm.
It's awesome. You
Mhm.
know? And I, it's weird. My taxes are so simple. People are like, "Oh my gosh, we get your tax season." I'm like, "Taxi? I'm going for a ride in side by side with kids." You know, like, I don't know what you guys are doing for tax season, but that's what I'm doing. You
Yeah.
know, and it's awesome. And if there's a problem, we work it out together. And it's great. But anyway, yeah, it takes a long time to get over that.
Mhm.
Like for me, I don't know about it for everybody else. It's taken me a long time, and I'm still working on it to get over like I am not worth feeling good. My brother just recently started a business. It's awesome to watch him. And he, I said, Jason. So my partner's name is Jason. My brother's name is Jason. So sorry. I said, Jason, it's okay to make money doing something you like to do. For his whole life, my brother's 5 years older than me, so he's like almost 50. For his whole life, he thought it had to hurt to go to work.
Mhm.
Like really, that's what he thought. Like if it doesn't suck and it doesn't make me bleed, it's I'm not doing anything good. And so he always loved painting. He's a great painter, house painting. That's what he does now. He quit his job working as a welder in a shop, and now he's a house painter. And he decided to build a business right. And so now he has someone do his taxes and he gets paid every week. And he's like, dude, I didn't know I could get paid well to do something I liked.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, you can. It's okay. It's okay.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, yeah, it sucks.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think we all go through that at some point, and you almost feel like you're stealing by making a good living and not having to work as hard. And it's like, why,
Yeah.
as blue collar, are we so plagued with that mindset? You know, and
Yeah.
it's like if we didn't absolutely bleed and break ourselves to make the money, then we didn't really earn it. And it's
Yeah.
like, we just learned how to play fucking smarter, right? And we learned that not everything has to be our responsibility. And it's such a fucking hurdle for us to get over.
And it bleeds into like your management and like running a business. And why does it hurt so bad to run a business? Why does it feel like it eats you alive? Well, I think it's that same internal like brokenness that as just an employee, you're like, it has to hurt in order for it to be real. Like we take that with us. And no, like we're not, as human beings, I think we're just not willing to always do the work necessary to get better or to heal, I guess you could say. We're just not willing to do it. We just want a band-aid. We just want like, and for most of us, it's like, if I just make more money, if I just make more money, if I just make more money, if I get a new truck, if I make more money, if I have 6 guys instead of 10 or 6 guys instead of 2 guys, like if I get more clients, if I make more money, it'll fix that brokenness. And it feeds into it's supposed to hurt because now I have 10 guys I'm micromanaging instead of 4 guys I'm micromanaging. I have, 20 clients instead of 4 clients that I have to give 100% to. And this business is gonna kill me. Okay, cool. I'm supposed to die. Just as a funny, like, whatever. As a kid, I always thought to myself, if I'm going to be in the trades, I'm not going to get out of this business with all my fingers. I'm going to lose one eventually. And I'm like, all the guys I look up to, they're missing a finger. They got a gnarly scar up their side. They got the thing from here from getting smashed in the head by a rod or whatever. Yeah, that's me. That's what I have to do. And now as like a maturing human being who's entered into this thing with my eyes wide open, with a partner, with a team around me that's very helpful, with the support of my family, with, all that stuff. Like, you know what? I want to get out of this with all my fingers. I want to get out of it with me intact. And that helps me, like, should we add more employees? Well, only if these benchmarks are hit, only if they're these employees. I would rather just not work than do it wrong or go against what our values, our core values, like what we're designing with our business. I'd rather just not do it. But again, so I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not a number one. Like I heard, I don't know if it's Andy Frisella or somebody was saying how like there's entrepreneurs and there's intrapreneurs and there's like, I don't know, employees or something. And like entrepreneurs are like visionary drivers. That's not me. I never wanted to own my own company. I don't care if my name's on the side of it. I don't need t-shirts. I don't need, any of that stuff. I'm a great number 2. Like give me a structure and send me out and I'll do everything, anything, and I'll make this thing work. And that's where like I really find like satisfaction and purpose is like being a good second in command. Like on a job site, I'm head down. If you want 100 feet of pipe, joints beveled, cool. I'll just bevel pipe all day. I do not care. My partner, Jason, he's like a visionary driver type guy. If he's, welding a bin and a crane rolls on site, he gets out of the bin and goes and checks on the crane. Hey, is everything cool here? You guys need a hand? Like he's like in the bin, like he's on it. That's just how he is. But me, I'm just like, nah, I don't really care. I'll split wood forever. It'll be the best split wood you ever saw in your whole life. I don't even care. So yeah.
I feel like this it all came full circle.
Yeah.
Split wood forever.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
I'm getting good at this.
Yeah. That was awesome. Daniel, as we wrap up here, any, what final thoughts or sharing points do you have?
I think everything is a reflection, like if you have problems in your business, it's a reflection of you, right? Like you're the business, you own it. So if you have problems with your employees, it's a reflection of you. If you have problems in your relationship, it's you, like you're the one like, oh yeah, well, they're mean. Yeah, I guess they are, but it's how you respond, that kind of a thing. And, I think at the end of the day, like all this stuff is well and good, all the Ed Milets and the Jockos and all that stuff to like that motivates us, drives us, whatever, that challenges us. At the end of the day, it's like you have to work on you. Um, I think I heard, I think it was like Dakota Myers, uh, Medal of Honor winner, and he's having some PTSD. Like he went through some pretty bad stuff, right? And he was saying how like psychedelics, psychotherapy, all these different things that he's done to kind of work on his brain to get it back to somewhat normal. He said they're not, they don't work. He has to do the work. They just give him the space to do the work. So getting a coach is really awesome, but it's just a tool that gives you the space to do what needs to be done in yourself to fix you to then fix your issues. Like we need to, as tradespeople, find the tools that allow us to have the space to do the work on us. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same old, same old. You're just going to want to die. You're just going to keep beating your head against that card, that 2x4. You're always going to be chasing your tail. You're going to make plenty of money. Like we're in a situation in the world right now where there's 5 people retiring out of the trades and only 1 coming in. So you could be basically mentally challenged. You cannot read and write. You can put your name on the side of a truck and make a living for the rest of your life in any trade. There are people who suck at what they do, are not interested in getting better, and they get paid every week. For those of us who want to do better, we have to create that space, find the tools to create that space to fix ourselves, our messed up internal monologue, all that crap, fix it and get to it. That's it. Like get to it. And yeah, hopefully, yeah.
I think
We
that's
get
well
life
put.
in 20 years. Hopefully the water quits.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yeah. Daniel, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram. That's all I do. It's Daniel _Apex Welding. That's it. That's the only place you can find me.
Yeah.
But I always, if you message me or whatever, I'll chat. Watch some reels before you watch some of my stuff before you enter. Because if you're asking me if you should start a business, no. If what should I do? Work harder. That's what so you'll get it from me. But also like, man, I'm available to help anybody who actually wants help. Point you in the right direction anyway.
Mm-hmm. My granny used to tell me this. She said, you can't help people that won't help themselves.
Your story.
She told me that when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and I've never forgot it.
Yeah.
So that's always a piece of the lens that I look through, and when having conversations with people, you can't help people that won't help themselves.
Yeah.
So
yeah, my mom used to tell us bedtime stories. She told us this one story one time. Oh, she always told us this story. She said there's this little house of rabbits, little bunny rabbits. There's a mom rabbit and 2 little babies. It's me and my brother. She's the mom rabbit. Dad wasn't around. No big deal. And she said they lived in this little field. And one day the little baby rabbits come back in and I said, the farmer's going to cut the field. We got to move. And so the mom rabbit says, what'd he say? He said, well, the farmer said he's going to call his friends and they're going to cut the field tomorrow. And she said, don't worry about it. And the next day, the little baby rabbits come in and say, Mom, the farmer said he's going to call his brother and they're going to cut the field tomorrow. He says, don't worry about it. We don't need to move yet. Third day, baby rabbits come back in and say, Mom, the farmer said he's going to cut the field today. Mom rabbit said, let's pack up. We got to go. That's the bedtime stories I got. And I think that's exactly what you say is you can't, like, we have to do it. We have to do it on our own. We have to, there's definitely teams we could build and ways that we can get partners and all that stuff. At the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself. You have to be the one to drive it. And there's no such thing as like, oh, well, all I am is a plumber or whatever. You could be the best darn plumber, the best darn landscape, whatever it is, but you have to do it. Nobody's going to come and help you. Nobody's going to come and rescue you. If you take that big leap, you're betting on yourself. You got to do it. No one's going to pay your taxes. No one's gonna change the oil in your truck. Like, you have to do the work. And that's, I think at the end of the day, that's probably the only thing I have to say after all that word soup.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Nate, what do you think, my brother?
Oh, you know me. We hit that hour mark, and
I know it.
Yeah. But Daniel, I really appreciate you being here, man. And I look forward to continuing to watch your journey and your hard ass mentality that you bring to the table. And the self-reliance is huge for me, and especially after the last couple of months that Matt and I have had together. I think we've both come to that realization that we got to do our part. It is a partnership, and lean on me when you need it, but you got to do your own shit. You got to take care of your own shit. And like you said, nobody's coming to do it for you. So
yeah. Daniel, good to see you again.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. What Nate said, dude, thanks for spending your time here with us, sharing your story. It's a great story. I've heard part of it. I was excited to hear it again. It adds value to people, and just the aspect of being gritty, and working on yourself. I think, those were some of the big points that I took out of your message and your story. And yeah, again, what Nate said, like, no one's coming to do it for you. You're right. And I appreciate that. And it's like, yeah, you have to get up when the alarm goes off, and you've got to put the work in. You've got to get shit done, and it's up to you. And that ripple effect carries into the other people in your life, and that standard is there. And I'm thankful, grateful that you took the time to spend with us. So go check Daniel out on his Instagram. You can find Nate on Instagram at Nate Newton 87. I am on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience. Email is tradesmanexperience@gmail.com. Website's thetradesmanexperience.com. And the YouTube channel is The Tradesman Experience. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud to be a tradesman. See ya.